All right, guys, we are back for another episode of Sooner Cast, and boy, do we have stuff to talk about. It is recruiting day, our first recruiting pod, man. That's I'm very excited about doing that because just fell on Wednesdays is when we do it, and that is, know they say it's early signing day. I mean, this is the only damn signing day, so don't give me crap anymore. If they don't sign now, then obviously they're probably not coming here. So yeah. How you been doing, man?
I think probably the better way of saying it's like this is NIL contract day, essentially is what today is, and we can just kind of hop right into it. I think it was a good day. I mean, I know myself, my productivity level at work was down, so hopefully, if none of my board members are watching this tonight, but hopefully you are watching it, but you understand the importance of making sure Michael Fasusi did sign. And we all watched one of the absolute worst Twitter lives that was sideways, and listening to from a person who does those signing days as an athletic director, guys, that was bad. I mean, like Louisville, you can do better, and that was awkward. But most importantly, the OU hat came on. That got done. The Fasusi deal got done. And, really, Jeremy, when you look at it, last year, we all know, I think everyone listens to this pod agrees, the hardest thing to get and the thing that we talked about being SEC ready was being really good up front, being good on the defensive line, being good on the offensive line, being good in the trenches. Last year, we had a really good defensive line group, and that already helped this year. Jaden Jackson came in as a starter. David Stone was a rotation player, and you can see where that's going. And this year, we addressed that in the offensive line. And, this is the best offensive line class we've ever signed, at least in a long time under Beatonbow. So I don't have anything negative to say. We can go into, some different people, but I do think we need to start with the Fasusi thing. And that being no drama to me was just awesome. What do you think?
Yeah, and I'm like you said, the weird signing is like, I think he signed with OU. He had a bunch of OU stuff there, and then it was like never mentioned. Like you said, sideways. I think we all knew he was coming here. I think on our group chat, I said, I just assume he's not coming because it feels too like right, and it feels like there's no drama whatsoever. But I don't think he ever, by the sound of it, I don't think he ever like even kept Texas or Texas A&M in it. Texas A&M, I think, knew they were out of it. They go and signed some guys in the portal.
Yeah, they got the kid from Missouri, who we had been in on earlier, and I definitely think once he signed, that took the A&M thing out of it. And I thought there's a really cool quote that Brent said today during his press conference is, kids who are drama in recruiting are drama once they're on campus too. And
yeah, I love that.
I thought that was a really good quote, and really, I thought that was really a good thing.
Funny thing is too, I don't know if you saw that. You might have been the one that sent us picture. It said Cortez Mills is an early enrollee in either OU or Nebraska. It's like, no, he said he's going to Nebraska. They still don't trust that he's going there. So
no, and I mean, and we were just talking about this before we even started the pod, but I think he wins douche of the day for his. Maybe that could be a thing for us. We can have a douche of the day, but I think that definitely goes to Cortez Mills for the absolute big psych.
Clubhouse leader right now.
Yeah, exactly. But beyond that, you go into. I mean, remember Jeremy when we were setting through these, and I don't want to drag the Lincoln Riley stuff all the way back up all the time because I'm not one of those people who sits there and obsesses about him and wonders that. But say what you want about Brent and the policy of the whole. If you visit somewhere else, we haven't lost kids because I mean. And one thing, Brent probably once again, like a guy whose wife asked him, "How does this look?" And sometimes you can be too honest. I think Brent sometimes is too honest. And he just said, "Hey, there's two of the receivers that, we had a 5 receiver class. Now it's a 2 receiver class. Two of the guys, we asked essentially the gray shirt Obviously, they didn't want to do that process to everyone look at it. And then he goes, one of them was the decision today, and we lost out on him. Yeah. And because Brent knows next year is about his job, we're ranked. I've seen 14th recruiting class. I've seen 18th in the recruiting class. I've seen, everything in between. But when you look at the quality of player that we signed, it was a good recruiting cycle. Don't have problems with it. I think for the most part, the people that we really identified will work out really well. Someone I'm really excited for is Elijah Thomas. He's someone I've seen play. I'm the high school principal at Keys. We've played Shakota a lot and played him in football when he was younger, and we play him in basketball every year, a couple of different times a year. We're in their tournament in basketball, and that kid has been an absolute, freak of an athlete since then. He's going to really, really, really do awesome things. Really excited for him. Got to see him a lot. Is there anybody that jumps off the page or anything that jumps off the page for you, Jeremy?
I think all the offensive linemen are huge. Probably best class we've had in I don't know how long. Elijah Thomas, I agree. Also, too, the defensive end name just like something Knight. Shield Knight. I think he's going to be a player. I don't think he's a right off the bat guy that's going to start playing for us, but I think he's going to be a difference maker. I like what Brent said about Elijah Thomas. He said that's the easiest recruit that he's ever had because he didn't sway. He never went one way or another. So I think that's pretty cool. So,
and and you and I both love Oklahoma kids, and we've got Shield Knight and Thomas from here right around Green Country, where you and I both are. But CJ Nixon, we lose a Weatherford kid. We're bringing another Weatherford kid in. He's a kid I've seen play in the state tournament in basketball too. And I mean, I love what Brent's doing with our in-state kids. I think it's made it really hard to be Oklahoma State and Tulsa. I think that was really bad for those two schools when Brent got hired. Because I think Elijah Thomas, Alex Shield Knight, I think Nixon may be someone that OU would have been on before, but some of those kids that wearing this crimson and cream just means something different for. And Ethan Downs has been a great Sooner. Sooner. Will Ethan Downs play on Sundays? Probably not. No. He might make a practice squad. He might eke out a little bit of a career. We hope he does. But signing those kind of kids is awesome. But I agree, the biggest, figuratively and by stars, is definitely Fasusi.
Absolutely. I think he's a difference maker the minute he steps on campus. He has that make that, and there's a couple guys in there probably going to be battling for some second team snaps.
I mentioned that early, but I think it's kind of the defensive line thing last year. We all heard about Stone, and then Jackson's the one who came in and actually played more. Maybe we've all heard about Fasusi, and maybe it's Foji who comes in and plays more. We'll see.
I agree. What about Arbuckle getting on OU fans' good side by taking that OSU recruit right off one day? I mean,
without a doubt.
It's so funny we talk about all these quarterbacks and who are they going to go after this guy? They're going after this guy. He's like, let's go after OSU commit.
But once again, Jeremy, I think it's a good thing. This is a kid that was kind of no drama. We offered him last night. He commits this morning.
Mm-hmm.
And, we had it. One of our friends, I think it was Darren, asking our group chat today. What do you think about this quarterback? I know Nathan, maybe Nathan or Jarrett threw it out there too. But now we've name dropped our friends group chat. So there we go, guys. Good job. Good for you. But
you made it big.
Yeah. And anyway, this is a kid who has good arm talent. I did watch some film on him today. So yes, I do watch film through our YouTube commenter. Watched some film on him today. And, there was some Dylan Gabriel stuff of kind of the high arcing long pass. Thought he looked good on those long passes. Now he's not left-handed, he's right-handed, but not a run first guy, a throw first guy. Something that I had read is maybe he's not as highly ranked on stars sort of thing because he wasn't really big on the 7-on-7 circuit. And I think that's kind of part of playing the game, kind of like playing AAU basketball. And sounds like a gamer. Plus, there's a legit picture of him riding a horse when he was committed to OSU. So if you're, for you equestrian fans out there you go.
Yeah, he must have been committed to Arbuckle. Like, I guess Arbuckle's been recruiting him, so it sounded like that was just what he needed to hear. We'll jump right into the OC. We kind of hinted about it on Sunday, like we thought we'd have an OC. I thought it was going to be on Monday morning. It ends up being Tuesday afternoon. So, but nonetheless, it's what we've been hearing from, I guess we can say, our sources now.
There we go.
Because, but Arbuckle, it was just, I think that was who Brent wanted all along. It seems like he still interviewed guys, but I'm excited. I know our friends are maybe not as on board with it as we are, but that said, man, the guy is obviously a smart mind.
I mean,
he's a smart mind. Yeah, we weren't Oklahoma wasn't the only people that wanted Arbuckle. So let's get that out in the open. Like, he was wanted by many, many people in many schools. So he's just a hot name right now. He could be. Am I saying he's going to be the next Lincoln Riley? No, but I think he has a different mindset. No, he doesn't, and he's going to run. I mean, he said he's saying all the right things. As OU fans, after what we've watched, all we're thinking is we got to see it. So exactly. I don't know what's your mindset on him.
But I mean, number one, I've loved everything that he has said since he's came in. I also love the fact that this isn't a guy who we had to convince to take this job either. This was a guy who was interested in the job as soon as it was open, took the job as soon as it was offered, wanted to be here. His first date was actually at an OU game with his wife. In 2012, his wife's a Sooner. So,
I was at that game, so I was on their date with him. So
yeah, hey, me too. So little did he know he was dating with the Sooner cast crew, and 80,000 of his other friends. But Jeremy, I just think at Oklahoma we want to win championships, and for us to win championships, we've got to take risk, and the biggest predictor of the future is what's happened in the past. Yeah. And when we've made hires because it's convenient or because it's a Sooner, it hasn't worked out. And that's what we did with Seth. You and I both wanted it to work for Seth. We've talked about that previously on the pod. I'm not going to go into that. Mm-hmm. But we went and got the hot name, the young guy. We've got a 30-year-old defensive coordinator. We've got a 29-year-old offensive coordinator. Pretty sure Brent Venables was 29 when he was hired as defensive coordinator under Bob. That was a risk. Bob went out there and said, you think Bob Stoops didn't want to control the game? He went out and hired Mike Leach. Now, Mike left. And then we rolled that into Mangino. What did Mangino do? Mangino took the air raid, which, yes, Arbuckle's going to be in the air raid, but he's going to take the talent that he has and coach it and get it better. This is a guy who, if you look at the 4 years he's called offenses, he has played to the strength of his quarterbacks. And that's what we want. We want to play to the strengths of the team. And I think Arbuckle is that guy. And I'm not going to lie to you. When I first read all the offensive staff was going to come back, I was like, oh, my gosh, Joe John. And honestly, I mean, you've heard me talk about it. And once again, all those guys could beat me up. I think I mentioned that in a couple of weeks. So they're out there, find me, beat me up, whatever it is. But don't be shocked if Joe John's not really back, guys. Don't be shocked if DeMarco's not really back. I expect Emmett Jones to be back. I know Bedenbaugh's going to be back. But don't be shocked if DeMarco and Joe John are gone. Don't be shocked by that. But guess what today is? It's signing day. We wanted to make sure we got through that. We want continuity. Brent's a loyal guy. He's going to be loyal to those guys. Okay? Yeah. He's not going to can them. Don't be shocked if there's not changes. If it's the same staff, and when we're talking on a Wednesday in February and it's the same staff, I'll spend more time griping about the fact of what a crappy job Joe John has done as a tight ends coach, because he's done a crappy job as that. He has.
Mm-hmm.
We
Yep.
couldn't even get our crap. I mean, we that's a future pod thing. But Arbuckle's the right hire. Brent Beebe needs to win next year, and I think Arbuckle was the right guy for it.
I agree. He's got to go in the portal and get some tight ends. Reagan Beers, women's basketball player, her brother's a tight end in the portal. I think that's a good start. So,
and a scary thing, I did see that Southeast Louisiana's tight end has once again entered the portal, and so we have buyer's remorse there. So do not let Joe John get on a charter plane, train, or automobile to Hammond, Louisiana, and go back down there. Do not let that happen. Okay,
unless he can throw a hell of a tight end pass. That's about.
I don't care. I don't care. I mean, I'm burnt with that. Don't want to see it again. Don't do that. Don't do it, Joe John. Don't do it. Let's go get somebody else with that.
So after so I guess the next big news that hit today was Jackson kind of did the inevitable, what we figured he's going to do. I kind of thought, here's what I love. When Jackson Arnold announces he's going into the portal, everybody who has been running him down is like, we didn't do that kid right. Why'd we do him that way? And yeah, he didn't deserve it, this and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you're the one that was, I'm not going to be like a hypocrite.
Hope you go win.
I'm going to be a hypocrite and be like, well, man, I just wish he'd have stayed. Why didn't he stay and be a backup and take, because you know what, guys, this is a business. They had to pull Jackson in there and be like, you've got to take a pay cut. Well, you're getting all SEC money, and you're a bottom-tier quarterback in the SEC. So I'm sorry if you want to go look elsewhere. And that's why I knew Jackson Arnold probably wasn't coming back, because let's be honest, he can probably make more money somewhere else, and we both need a break. So
let's just dive just a little bit into my thoughts here with Jackson. Okay, so QBR, I'm a little bit of an analytics guy. Do like looking at numbers. I don't think numbers lie.
Maybe quit looking at all the box scores. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah, that's what I do. But I'm an old math teacher, guys. Can't help it. But by just total QBR, let's just talk about regular QBR. Jackson had, this is essentially just like out of 100. Think of like, A's, B's, C's, D's, F's, that sort of thing. Jackson against Temple, 53. Houston, 45. Tulane, 83. We were happy with the Tulane game. Tennessee, 1.4. South Carolina, we were like, oh, that's a lot better. Yeah, it was better than Tennessee, 17.4. Ole Miss, we were like, yeah, that was really good, 53.5. Against the Maine Black Bears, zoom to a 77.3. Mizzou, 23.6. Bama, miracle game. Happy guys, 83.1. LSU, 69.6. Last year in the bowl game, 58.6. Okay. Well, remember last year when he came in against BYU and we were all proud of him for the one slant that he threw? That BYU game last year, he was 5 for 9 for 33 yards. It wasn't anything to write home about. It just wasn't. PAA is essentially like where you are based on your passing metrics. In other words, how good of a passer you are. Okay, there were 129 quarterbacks. Jackson Arnold was 123rd. Remember Nick Evers, who never got on the field for OU? 115th. Remember Peyton Thorne, who single-handedly cost Auburn the game against us? 92nd. Remember Nico from Tennessee, who we all went into that game being like, Jackson, or let's take away the game. We were already kind of pissed off by that point. But remember by this summer, and if anyone wanted to talk up Nico, we were just beside ourselves by how they could hype up Nico and not hype up Jackson Arnold. And that was just a bunch of freaking bull crap because they won a crappy bowl game against someone who didn't care, a Big Ten school nobody cares about. And Nico 52. Remember Chandler Morris?
Yeah.
34th.
Where is Chandler Morris at?
North Texas.
Of course.
And a gentleman that I hope we'll be talking about more in the future, named John Mateer, was 8th. Okay. So, and if you want to go, let's go back to this regular old QBR again. Then I'm going to let you talk, Jeremy, so I can stop nerding people out. But Dylan Gabriel, ever heard of him? You know, little, not real tall guy. I think he plays for
That's the guy that we
wears
pushed.
highlighter colors now.
That's the guy we pushed out, right?
Yeah. The guy that the reason that we got rid of him and the reason that we hired Seth Luttrell is because we made the decision we didn't want to lose Jackson Arnold. So we did everything we could to keep Jackson Arnold by hiring the guy who was an analyst for him. And by keeping him, we got rid of the guy who, let's see, his QBR last year was an 87.3. Okay. And he had no games lower than 62.9. But the 2 games that his 2 worst games were the 2 games we lost. 64 at KU, 64.8 at OSU. And you're like, okay, yeah, but remember the 6-6 year we had before that, or 6-7 year, and how freaking awful he was then? He's 75.3 that year for Dylan Gabriel, too. And his, I'm not going to tell you what his QBR is this year because that's apples and oranges, not playing at OU. But once again, guys, Jackson's a kid. He's a kid. But he's also a kid who got paid over $1 million this year to be our quarterback. Yep. And I don't want to hear did we do him right? No, we bungled the coaching hire. We know that. But to act like the fact that we didn't have a quarterback's coach is like he didn't know how to complete a forward pass. Guys, this guy was the Elite 11 MVP. This guy was a 5-star recruit out of high school. This guy pays a quarterback's coach thousands of dollars. Okay, same quarterback coach that John Mateer uses. Let's not act like the guy never played quarterback before, and it was like, well, hell, it's just like, no. He had an opportunity. He stunk this year, guys. Yeah. He stunk. Bad. Not good. Bad. He was really, really bad. It's not a bad thing he's already in the portal. I'm glad he went early so we can go get Mateer. That's my thoughts. Yeah. Jeremy, I'm sorry.
I agree.
Back to you.
I agree. Yeah, 100%. You want to compare him? He is a Trevor Knight 2.0.
Yeah.
The amount of just like excitement. You remember when Trevor Knight had that big game against Alabama? Mm-hmm. Now we saw him in a bowl game, and I remember thinking about the bowl game was, man, he's a gunslinger, but man, those are some NFL throws, which he was. Yeah. But we never got those throws. He got scared. And when you play quarterback, especially in the SEC, you're scared, you're going to fail, and you're going to fail miserably, and this is what it's going to look like.
You got to be a cocky, confident guy. You just have to, and that's not him. And, I mean, he's a guy that doesn't need to be playing at Oklahoma. I mean, here's the deal. Bad crap happens. It does, okay? You're going to throw a pick. You're going to, God, in his case, fumble, because believe me, he was good at that. You're going to make mistakes, but have that swagger to be like, let's freaking go and get it back. And he just didn't have that. And, if he hits the freaking open slant route last week to Raggins, that's a different game. If he hits Deion Burke at Missouri, if he holds on the ball at Missouri, that's a different game. And this is like after he was fixed. God, it's not very good. It just wasn't good.
We all want the next Baker. Bakers don't grow on trees, and it's like we all want that cocky kid that comes out there and grabs his crotch and tells him to suck it.
But
but
you don't have to do it that way. But okay, Jalen Hurts is not a loud guy. Kyler Murray was not a loud guy, but they were the I've got this guys, and you need to be that.
The difference between them and Baker is they were cocky in different ways. Like their cockiness was they let their play and do the talk. How many times you look at Jalen Hurts and he's got that look on his face like, I'll never forget we came back and beat Baylor. Yeah. And he just looked back at the Baylor crowd and just shook his head at him. Like, for you to even think you guys are going to win this game is laughable. So I want that cockiness. I want that gunslinger mindset, but all I really want is this guy don't make mistakes. Yeah, I'm not picky, so just give me that.
You have to be able to throw the ball down the field. And if it goes back to a Jackson, if it's the Because really the only time we have ever seen him let it rip, the only time was that bowl game. Because when he had to play against BYU, and it was for a good reason, he was conservative in that game. Then the next time we see him against Arizona, and he did, he let it rip, and and he turned the ball over and that sort of thing. But this whole season, I mean, in that Temple game, remember we couldn't get a third down in that Temple game.
Yep.
So he throws those 3 touchdown passes, I think, to Deion Burks in the first quarter. But I mean, we couldn't get a third down that game. We had to squeak by a crappy Houston team. I mean, if you want to compare him to Mateer and you say, well, look at who Mateer's played. I mean, Mateer played the Temples, Houstons, and Tulanes of the world. Okay. Mm-hmm. And Jackson didn't throw for 200 yards in any of those games. And he threw it 25 times against Temple, 32 times against Houston, and 29 times against Tulane. And you don't get to 200 yards in any of those? And I realize we're short on receivers and all that stuff, but like our receivers we're putting out there are as good as the people at Temple, Houston, and Tulane.
Yeah.
They are. And I mean,
yeah. I mean, God dang, we'd probably run Jackson down for the rest of the pod, but we'll leave it at this, and then we'll move on to happier things. Jackson, did he have opportunities? Did we put him in good situations? No. You want to know why he played good against Arizona? He knew that he wasn't coming out of the game. The minute we took him out of the game against Tennessee, and Michael Hawkins had some success, he was always looking over his shoulder. He was always worried, like, if I make another mistake, I'm coming out. You can't play football like that.
And I even think some of the fall camp love that Hawkins scared him too. Because I mean, he was not a confident guy in that Temple game. Because I mean, I went into that Temple game as a full Kool-Aid drinker. I mean, I was SEC championship. Here we freaking go. It's go time. I was that cat. And I left that being like, you know what? Our offense wasn't very good. And, glad we scored on defense. Glad Kanik picked up a punt, but Temple sucks. And we weren't very good on offense. And he was a tentative guy then. And, and whether that means, hopefully all the intel I've heard, I think you probably heard the same thing, is that Hawkins is staying. His brother signed today. Don't see anything there. I'm happy to see Hawkins in a bowl game. And don't give me and once again, this is not an anti-Casey Thompson deal, but like we want Hawkins to play in the bowl game, guys. Not Casey Thompson. That's who we want to play.
He has to be. Speaking of championships, let's just segue right into the champions of the Battle of Atlantis.
That's
Oklahoma Sooner men's basketball team. Big game last night. I love this time of year because it is, why don't people go to their games? I just don't understand why they won't support this 8-0 team. And my rebuttal to that is, this was the same 8-0 team we had last year. So
we were 11-0 last year.
Yeah, it is very, very hard to, believe me, guys, I'm trying real hard not to. I'm taking sips of the Kool-Aid, but I cannot take full gulps of it just
something
yet.
I thought was good about the crowd that was there last night, Jeremy, is saw this a little bit watching the game, but then I saw it even better on Twitter. Really good student following there. The student section was pretty full. And, part of what happened last night, and this is just a part of being in the area of the world that we're in, Thunder had a home game last night too. And a lot of the people who are season ticket holders are going to, that are season ticket holders for OU basketball and are season ticket holders for the Thunder, they're going to go to those Thunder games. Thunder, the best team in the NBA, in the West at least, right now. And, that's where a lot of people are going to go because those Thunder tickets cost more than those OU tickets. So that's where a lot of people were. But, let's just talk a little about last night's game. Then we'll kind of go back to earlier in the week in broad strokes. But I was really impressed last night with OU basketball. First half was kind of ugly. They didn't really hit shots. I thought Georgia Tech was really more physical than we were. They're bigger than we were, kept us off the boards. Fears gets in a little bit of cheap foul trouble, has a hard time scoring a little bit early. And in the past, that's a game that's like, really, we go down and win that, and we lose to a mediocre team without one of their better players who was at OU last year, Javion McCollum. Wasn't even playing for them. But we come back and we won that game convincingly. And that's what really good teams do. And different people stepped up. Goodine hits a couple of big threes yesterday. Moore has moments. I I've learned to like a lot of this team, Jeremy. I really have. I really think this this is the best roster that Porter has put together. If we
He
just
has options. He has
yeah,
options, really. I mean,
really, I mean,
look at that.
we're not putting people on the floor that wouldn't be on the floor for other tournament teams. We're putting tournament players out there. And I think, the nice thing is Fear's trajectory is going to go up, up, and up, where we've had the lead guards like McCollum and stuff. And once they get into conference play and they're kind of one trick ponies, you kind of get into scouting, and it's, as an old basketball coach, I always felt like, when I had a really good team, I didn't worry about that second time I played somebody or after my film was out there. I just kind of knew we were going to do what we could do, and I knew we could adjust and they could adjust. And I feel like Porter, and I even saw that a little bit yesterday, made some adjustments, did a good job. We run a lot of ball screen stuff, which why wouldn't you with the good guards that we have? Really like the minutes we've gotten in a Northweather this year, like the pick and pop game that he has given. Just really like this team. I mean, I really do. But once again, we're going to see where we're at. And when we first started talking OU basketball, I said, well, we'll see what happens in Atlantis, and good things happen in Atlantis. Yeah. I didn't want to stub our toe against Georgia Tech. We didn't stub our toe against Georgia Tech. We've got Michigan in a jump man game coming up here before too long. That's going to tell us, don't freaking lose to OSU. Okay, we play them here in a couple of weeks. That's another one that we can do that. And then when we start conference play, I mean, I don't think that the SEC is going to be quite as good as the Big 12, but it's still going to be really, really, really good. And we've got, I think our first game is a road game at Bama, starting off conference play. So I mean, it's a gauntlet. But Porter, we like what we see so far, but like Jeremy said, we can't be all in because that, like I said earlier, best predictor of the future is what's happened in the past. We were 11-0 last year. It's 5 straight years OU men's basketball has won some form of preseason tournament. And we haven't made the tournaments, very often after that. So let's hope for continued good things, but we'll see.
I split it. My brother used to always have this reference, especially for Kelvin teams. Win all your home games and split your road games, and you got a special season. Now, that said, it's they have a gauntlet in the SEC. But one thing I noticed the difference is they have playmakers. We thought McCollum was last year. McCollum wasn't good with the ball in his hand. He's a good shooter, but like sometimes with good shooters, you can have bad nights. And we had some bad shooting nights and stuff like that. So there are sorry, kids coming through. No, but with Fears, the guy can make his own shots. He can go in there. He can make get some outside shots from other shooters, and we got shooters. And I think that's what Porter's been building for all these years is he wants to shoot the 3 ball. And it wasn't falling the first half. It was ugly that first half. But that second half is like a completely different team, hitting outside shots, running the floor. And we just kind of outmanned Georgia Tech. I mean, Georgia Tech's not a good basketball team.
Defense travels. With Porter teams, you're going to guard. I thought we did a really good job trapping their middle ball screen, making them be decision makers. We stole a lot of cross-court passes. Thought we did a good job of like keeping them on one side, shutting the floor down, that sort of thing. Just like I said, I really like what I'm seeing defensively out of this team of Porter. And I mean, I think this team just seems to have better chemistry. I do think that's kind of a hard mix now in this transfer portal and resetting. But we've said this, whether it was on this pod or just to each other. We had to get a year where our best players stayed and more stayed. And that's the difference. We're not completely starting from scratch. We have more. And once again, I wish Godwin was better. I do. But you have Godwin, you have Northweather, who were here last year. It's not a complete and total reset. And I think that's just a big deal.
And as long as you got Fears, Elvis is playing out of his mind. It makes you wonder how long he's going to be on this role. But as long as you got Fears and you've got Moore, those two are going to be the ones that carry you.
Well,
So,
and talking about Elvis, and that's a really good thing that I think gets taken away. Elvis's life's going to be a whole lot easier because of Fears. Because if you're playing, if you're the other team, you got to make a choice. Do I put my best defender on Fears? Do I put my best defender on Elvis? And Elvis is a guy who's got a good step back. He can get to the rim a little bit too. I mean, it just having what Fears is just lets everyone go down a link. And that's just a big deal. It just really is. I don't think it can be overstated. And that doesn't mean, I don't think Fears is a lottery pick or anything like that next year. I don't think that's it. The guy just turned 18. I'm not saying he's the next, Quantas White, Hollis Price, whoever you want to make it. I don't think that's him, but I do think he's a legitimate lead guard, and that's what you have to have. If you don't have good guard play, you're not going to go anywhere at any level. And having Elvis, that just makes it where we've got good guard play where we can go do that.
Yeah, I'll end it on this. And we had I had a deal I put on Twitter the other night. I said, they remind me of, and I'm not saying they're as talented as them. I'm just saying this is the way they play together. Willie Warren and Blake Griffin. I remember when they played together, it was like that little outside-inside action. Good thing about Jalen Moore last night is he wasn't hitting the outside shot, but he was still getting to the line and making free throws. So I was really impressed with that. So good night for OU basketball. Hopefully we can keep it going and keep this train going through the conference play. But all right, guys, I guess that's all we got tonight. Next week we will know where we're playing in the bowl game. So I'm excited about that. I'm curious to figure out where we're going. We'll know the playoff bracket and what we're looking at. So once again, guys,
maybe we've got the portal. I think will be officially open by next week too. So
I think it opens Monday.
As far as that, I guess the only two people we know in the portal, if we didn't really touch on that, no shock on Jacquez Petway. If you couldn't get on the field this year, then once again, maybe that fit will work better somewhere else. But I've never known coaches who don't want to put their best players on the field. Sometimes I question DeMarco, but I do feel like coaches want to win. Coaches want to put their best players on the field, and he couldn't get on there this year when we were decimated, to say the least, at the receiver spot. So we'll know more who's in the portal, who's out of the portal. If there's any other changes that go on with that, we'll shout out women's hoops. Had a good come from behind win tonight over Louisville. It was a ranked on rank win for the ladies after they dropped their ranked on rank game against Duke last week. So as we get farther away from football, Jeremy and I'll have more in-depth basketball conversations, but do wanted to give that shout out to them. But all in all, Jeremy, to put a bow on it for signing day, I think it went pretty darn well.
Yeah, I do too.
I think the bedwetting will be at a minimum. And as far as the Jackson,
there'll still be some bedwetting, but we'll get through it. So
not as far as the Jackson Arnold says, anyone who's ever been in any sort of group text with me knows that my favorite GIF is the tombstone. Well, bye.
Yeah, you had that opportunity.
Yeah. So,
well, if you guys are not following us, if you give us a follow on our YouTube, comment, like, give us a review, do all those good things. Like I've said many times, subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're not, it doesn't cost you a dime, but it helps us out. So, but yeah, until next time, hopefully we'll know a little bit more about what's going on around OU football that we can give us a little more talk about. But until next time, Boomer Sooner.
Boomer.